teams but announcing the
Good evening, everybody. What a treat we've got for you on this Saturday evening. A derby from the Palace. Marconi Stallions hosting their neighbours and fierce old rivals, Sydney United 58. Once upon a time, this was the defining geographic rivalry of Sydney football. The modern edition brings back memories of famous old days past and brings together two of the National Premier League's undisputed heavyweights. The hosts tonight still chasing the crown that has eluded them to this point in this storied history, a New South Wales Premiership. Sydney United looking to deny them that honour another year and secure their own crack at a championship in a month's time. Alex Molchanoff, delighted to be joining you on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel for this Saturday night soiree. Let's take you to the team news. None of it for the Marconi Stallions, unchanged after their 1-0 win at Cromer Park over Manly United last Friday night. So, the 11 looks like this. Number 1, James Hilton in goal. A back four of number 23, Brandon Vella. Number 2, Nathan Milgate, named in the Team of the Week from round 25. Number 4, Anton Mlinaric, partnering him alongside number 5, James Bayliss. A midfield 4 as well for Peter Sikanis. Number 7, Franco Myers starting off the right. Number 6, Dom Costanzo off the left. Number 16, Liam Yuley partners Daniel Bowman through the middle, with number 10, Marko Jesic, now the side's top scorer with 14 for the season after his free kick last weekend, and number 9, the star signing, James Temelkovski. Well, place for some slight improvements for Selko Kalats after their big 2-0 win over Apia Laika last Sunday. Make that 3 changes to the starting 11 that started that 2-0 victory. In goal again, number 1, Oliver Kalats, behind a back four of number 3, Bailey Rule. Number 21, Dejan Bakadanakoski into the side for the suspended Anthony Tomlic at the back alongside number 4, Adrian Vlastelica, and number 7, Jordan Ivancic. A midfield 2 of number 15, Tarek Maya, and number 10, Carlos de Oliveira, who scored the winner in stoppage time between these two back in March. The attacking trident in behind number 9, Patrick Anselmi, who returns to the starting side tonight, and number 19, Adam Milicevic, number 22, Stefan de Robillard, and number 8, Shunta Nakamura. So the pitch is perfect. We're running a couple of minutes late for kickoff. Not that that's particularly unusual in the NPL New South Wales men's. Selko Kalats just offering a couple of last-minute words of advice for young Aidan Milicevic, who will undoubtedly be key. He started the comeback for Sydney United after they trailed 2-0 at the break at Edenza Park earlier in the season. That turnaround, one of the most famous days in the club's recent history. So the Premiership wasn't a big enough carrot for the Stallions. They'll have revenge on their minds for that performance a couple of months ago. Sydney United would love nothing more than to do the double over their old rivals for the first time in more than a decade, to both solidify their spot in the finals and further dent the Stallions' title dream. All to play out in the next 90 minutes in front of us. A very warm welcome to you wherever you're joining us from around the world. Fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be a tasty one. They don't do boring games, these two. Plenty of feeling. And although it's not at the level, the national level as it was for so long, particularly through the 1990s, this game is still full of feeling and full of implications towards the top of the NPL New South Wales Premiership. This game coming so late in the season with just 4 rounds to play after tonight. 3 points, should they go to either side this evening, will undoubtedly shape what rewards they're seeking come the end of the year. First corner swung in by Franco Maya by Dom Costanzo, from the far side. Nathan Milgate stretching to head. He's scored plenty of big goals from set pieces over the course of his storied career. Straight away, Marconi have come out pressing high. Carlos de Oliveira almost had it nicked off him. A bit of taste in the mouth of the Stallions after he got that winner in stoppage time back in April, I should say. Game looked as though it might shift the fortunes of Sydney United, who'd had a slow start to the season. Certainly they've been able to grow the momentum off the back of that result. Still not been quite as consistent across the season as their close rivals. Still could close the gap to them in the final few weeks, sitting 10 points behind them with 4 games to play. A 6-point swing tonight would cut that margin to 7. Marconi could make sure that they finish above Sydney United 58 for another season with a win tonight. James Bayliss, who's recently been brought into the first team after battling with injury after his move from the Central Coast Mariners Academy team in the summer. Slotted in admirably at left back, so much that he's moved George Daniel out of the starting team, who'd been an ever-present fixture over the course of its first 3 or 4 months. It's the Stallions who started on the front foot here. Bending ball from Maya. So much curl on that ball that it managed to find its way over the head of Marko Jesic. It's Oliver Kalatz who's seeing all the action in front of his goal. Played no small part in their victory over Apia Leichhardt, where they had to concede plenty of early pressure. Not too dissimilar to what they're facing so far this evening. It's a big addition to have Patrick Antelmi back in from the start, though. It was a big part of the turnaround, well, a big part of holding on to the result after being brought off the bench last weekend. Alessandro Lacalandra getting the opening goal. With the two working in tandem. Sydney United legend restored to the starting lineup tonight by coach Zlatko Kalatz. William Yuli playing that one for his midfield partner Daniel Baumann, who's offered something interesting. Actually touched away by Milicevic, who, much like his role in the early stages of the game last Sunday, is having to do a little bit more work in his defensive half than he would probably fancy. Gorgeous stadium, Marconi, and we've got the best seat in the house tonight. Up on the old commentary tower. Shot in from Baumann, which is beaten away by Kalatz. It wasn't the most difficult of saves, but he still had to have his wits about him. The Sydney United goalkeeper. One-year-old who's bounced around in his professional career to this point. Part of the Western Sydney Wanderers Academy for so long. Vlastelica never shy of a challenge, but he mistimed that one. And Tomolkovski scored the opening goal in the return fixture earlier this season. Has won his team an early free kick here. Cool night in Sydney southwest. Nothing as frosty as we've had over the course of June and July, though. Light breeze blowing back towards us from the Marconi stand end. Franco Maya has a line of green bodies at which to aim. 2 in the wall for Kalatz. He might go direct. That's exactly what he did, Franco Maya. Jesic was right on his toes as well. Good concentration by the United keeper. Wasn't an immediately comfortable start for the coach's son after his move here at the start of the year, but he has grown into that #1 shirt week on week over the course of 2024, to a point where he's now one of the best statistical goalkeepers in the competition. Tomolkovski's causing plenty of problems for that Sydney United defence early. On the free kick on the near side, now he's won his team an attacking corner on the far. Tom Costanzo loves these big occasions. Nothing more than to pick out a teammate's head in these early stages and give Marconi something to defend. They're one of the best front runners in the competition. Jesic was doing everything he could to get his head to that one. De Oliveira marshalled him. Jesic with a clever flick. Baumann closing in on Kalatz. Oh, and now a decision for Michael Wiener, because Kalatz had lost control of the football, but he's going to have a quick chat to Anton Mlinaric, who had gone out of his way to cross the goalkeeper's path. Experienced official for a big game, Michael Wiener. He's seen it all at this level of New South Wales football. Another big game in the context of the title race. This game 2 versus 6 coming into the night. It was 2nd versus 5th coming into the weekend, but Wollongong got a convincing victory last night down at the Illingdon Sports Centre over Sydney FC. 5-star performance, 5 goals to 1 that finished. And already there is a tension simmering under this one. Meyer and Vlastelica coming together in midfield. Costanzo almost looks casual as he sprays that ball across field, as is his manner. Mlinaric always being a little more measured about his passes. Both are just as effective as one another. Temulkovski timed his run beautifully. Snuck in behind the United defence. Meyer lining up! And I think there were a few of the Marconi crowd who thought that was sneaking inside the post. Terrific crowd in tonight for what is a big occasion. There's a feel of the halcyon days of this rivalry about this one tonight. Just the circumstances and what it means for both clubs. Dejan Bakadanakoski's been called into the team today. Really the 3rd choice, with Liam McGing still out suspended after his red card a couple of weeks ago against Rockdale. Tomilic in a similar spot for something a little less serious, topping up the bookings. 5th yellow card last week of the season meant that he wasn't eligible for tonight's match. Bakadanakoski's been used really as a defensive reinforcement in games by Kalatz. He's got a big start in the heart of defence tonight, and he's been put under plenty of pressure by this early Marconi siege on the Sydney United goal. Milicevic is not the biggest man. Quine tries to win the header, but then it was turned back over by Antelmi, who stayed down. Play continuing for now. He's opposite number 9, Temulkovski. And there's half a thought around the ground that they'll play the ball out. Franco Meyer's not one partaking in that groupthink. Now that they've turned it over, neither is Sydney United. Yuli winning it back high up the pitch. De Oliveira diving in, didn't win the ball. Temulkovski for Jesic! He loves the derbies, does Marko Jesic. 2 in 2 weeks. And the crowd give him the love that he deserves here. Everybody's involved, the supporters, the kids on the side of the ground. And James Temulkovski, who found the most gorgeous of passes for his strike partner. Marconi have come out of the blocks flying, and they've got the opening goal. A big goal in a big game. Who else do they turn to, Marconi? For so many years, it's been that man, Marko Jesic. He's done it again. Timed his run to perfection, and his team are buoyed by that early goal. Costanzo winning it back off Milicevic. Temulkovski lining up! It's one of the goals of the season! They go bang bang in less than a minute and double their lead! From the best part of 30 yards, he laid on the first, he looked up that time, nothing in front of him. He thought, why not? And with a right boot like that, why would the question ever be asked? It's a dream start for Marconi. spine-tingling stuff. The response of the crowd, the performance of their team so far tonight. It has been a stirring start to this derby from the hosts. They know what it means, trying to cut the lead of Rockdale Lillard back down to 3 points by the end of the night. Boy, haven't they made some start. They had to wait so long last week against Manly United. They thought the goal might not come. No such questions this evening. Two absolute beauties. Kalat's barely had a chance to look at either of them. Jesic slipped in behind for the first, and then Temulkovski with a blaster of a second. And Ivancic is being put under pressure. Can De Oliveira dribble his team out of trouble? He drew the challenge of Baumann. He just caught the diminutive midfielder before he could make contact with the ball. Well, where else would you rather be? Only football gives you stuff like this. Sydney United 58 fans, it's quickly turning into a nightmare, but the memory of that game earlier in the year will buoy them with some sort of hope. Has not been the ideal start tonight. Say the same of their performance last weekend, but they managed to hold out in a defensive sense. Marconi have been clinical. De Oliveira having to draft into the back line and track Jesic. He's been the Sydney United player most full of energy in these early stages. What is the response of Zeljko Kalatz's side now in front of this packed crowd in Bosley Park? They've been treated to some start. Clever work from Maya. Such a leader of this side. Shunta Nakamura scored a beauty last weekend and wasn't too far away from the frame of James Hilton's goal there. So signs of a response from the visitors. A madcap quarter of an hour to start us off here. Because of that result earlier in the year, I don't want to harp on about it, but Marconi will be as alert as ever, knowing what their opposition are capable of. In terms of turning a game around, they only got the seconds on that night, or on that afternoon, sorry, right before the break, in the shadows of half-time. They haven't been as patient this evening. Sydney United have done well to take some of the air out of the game. This place was really enlivened after that stunning strike from James Temulkovski to double Marconi's lead. If you are just joining us on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel, you've missed a bit. Both of the Stallions stars up front on the score sheet early. Temulkovski providing the first for Jesic before belting in a beauty of his own not a minute later. Baumann. And the Stallions have got firm hold of this game and not been able to continue the intensity once they started with. It's barely a surprise. They're still looking threatening enough though. Talents like Franco Maya and Dom Costanzo flanking those front two. It's no surprise that they're as much a threat in front of goal as any in this competition. Hitting form at the right time as well. If you're talking about all the silverware that is available, there's no cup there for them this season, but Premiership Championship double is still a glimmer of hope away. Sydney Olympic, the last team to complete that in the NPL New South Wales under Abbas Saad back in 2018. Here's De Oliveira. Said that Jesic loves these games after his goal. Carlos de Oliveira has shown a penchant for the big occasion. Able to get his team going in a positive direction. Dom Costanzo might be able to do something a bit better. He's beaten Bailey Rule, just breezed past him. The crowd rise, and Tarek Maya was back to tidy up in front of his defence. Maya did beautifully. The handball mostly came from the crowd rather than the players. Sydney United can't ponder over what they're doing with the football in their own half at the moment. Marconi have pressed them so high early. Liam Yulee happy to just put that ball out to play. Stefan de Robillard into the team tonight in place of Mason Wells. Barely had a touch on this near side. Vancic is trying to give him another taste of the football, and the man who took the throw just clattered into the Stallions captain. There's a smile on his face as he returns to his feet. Why wouldn't he? Early goals are not something we're particularly used to in the NPL New South Wales. It's more goals statistically shown scored late in games and even halves. So look at those sorts of things, but the Stallions have flipped the script here in the early stages of this big derby. Millgate over the top. It's chasing Vlasilica down into that corner. Kalats has got to be very careful. Semolkovski putting him under some sort of pressure. United goalkeeper trying to draw the free kick that was never coming really from Michael Wiener. Gives him a shake of the head as he asks the question. De Oliveira. He's been the shining light in a sorry start to this game for Sydney United. He's decided to throw to just relieve some of the pressure. They've barely been able to venture into Marconi's half. The one shot coming in from Shunta Nakamura about 5 minutes ago. Fired high and wide of James Hilton's goal. He's been a spectator to this point. That ball's not been dealt with by Sydney United. Temulkovski taking it up. Costanzo just waiting for support, which now arrives. Franco Maya! And there were plenty this time on the far side who thought it was in. Rattles the side netting. The Uruguayan flyer not able to make Sydney United's early pain. But just that little bit more. Danakorski not able to find anyone in red with that ball. Naric going up rather than out, and then just cushioning that one down for Nathan Millgate. But the referee spotted an infringement. I think it was from Marko Jesic going up for the challenge just in Sydney United's half. That Sydney United haven't done the double over Marconi. Neither team has done the double over the other since Marconi were promoted back to this division half a decade ago. Both the home teams winning the two fixtures last season. All games with plenty of goals. Shunta Nakamura drifting into a wide position. Millgate clearing the dangerous ball from the Japanese midfielder. Heartbeat of so much of that Sydney United do going forwards. Maya's taken up the attack. Naric prods it clear. Best period of the match so far for the visitors. It's not a high bar to measure that by, but starting to build more consistently from this sort of area, which is what they love to do. Vlasilic has got a beautiful left foot, clips that one over the top. Millgate's always had the head start in the foot race, and even the younger legs of Stefan de Robillard couldn't catch him. Hoisted over the top by Yulee. That's an awkward one for Danakorski, who eventually got it down. Mentioned there was some fire brewing under this one. Temelkovski and Bakadanakovsky going into the challenge. Now, the referee stopped play here. I don't think it's a free kick, though. Sydney United will retain possession because it was with Tarek Meyer in the centre of the field. Just adding to the frustration as the travelling team, as short a journey as it is, I feel they're getting the rub of the green at the minute. Here's a free kick that has been awarded by Michael Wiener. He's trying to have a think about what he'd seen. Vlastovic has used it beautifully to switch play for Bailey Rule. Interchange of passes with Milicevic, and Dom Costanzo getting back to do some defending. It's not something you say all that often about Dominic Costanzo, but he was going to get back there. All hands on deck in a game that means so much. Oh, not dealt with by Ivancic. Jesic sliding in to recover his error. The Sydney United left back, keeping Matt Hatch out of the team still. He returns from a 6 to 8 week injury. He's on the bench tonight again, Matt Hatch. Able to provide some added attacking thrust should Zelko Kalats look in that sort of department at some stage. Plenty of time still left on the clock, plenty of time for Sydney United to turn the tide. Certainly they've been able to wrestle back some of the momentum since those two early goals. Well, there's not having much luck down the right. Dom Costanzo's been tackling like a centre half. The opening 20 minutes or so of this one. Mlinaric. Daniel Baumann is always so steady through the centre of the park. He's found himself on the score sheet a few times this season as well. Mlinaric with the confidence to just take the ball past Shunta Nakamura. Now the running power of Bayliss. Beating the Sydney United players to the ball. Had trickled over the touchline, took a touch through there, so Bayliss can take the throw quickly. Costanzo content to keep it. This rivalry which dates back to 1970 when Marconi were first promoted up to the State League. Plenty of famous clashes down the years. This is about to be a very happy chapter if Marconi can keep up this sort of play. Franco Meyer with his second shot of this first half, with his less favoured right foot. That one a little less worrying for Kalats than Temelkovski's, which bent and knuckled its way into his top corner. Sydney United persisting with trying to play out through the press of Marconi, which has worked wonders in the early stages. This time they have managed to break it. Eventually it's nicked off the toe of Anselmi. He's not having the sort of impact he would have liked in the opening 25 minutes, which have raced by. It's Costanzo. Yuli lining it up. Jesic attacking. The two captains going head to head. Vlastovic one out that time. De Oliveira getting the telling touch to make sure it was clear of the area, but then turned over by de Robillard. It's Mr. Marconi, Brandon Vella. Stepping forwards, couldn't find a teammate in green. And Daniel Baumann reading the situation beautifully and managing to retain possession for the hosts. This has been the most consistent pattern of the first half. Temelkovski darting around on the edge of the 18-yard box. Heavy challenge from Yuli, but a fair one, right in front of the referee. Temelkovski again. Costanzo. He likes to put the ball into that avenue of apprehension for goalkeeper and defence. Franco Meyer complaining that he was being held back. I don't think there was anything outside of what you see every week with defenders clashing with attacking players making runs into the area. He's continuing that discussion with The assistant on the near side, Brad Wright. Not too interested in hearing his argument, to be honest. Now the question for Sydney United is, can they find a way through the best defence in the competition? I think that Marconi have been the best front runners, least points dropped from winning situations so far this season. Their defence is the reason why. Funnily enough, that last derby was the last time that Marconi dropped all 3 points after leading into the final 15 minutes of the game. There's plenty of time till we reach that stage of the match, but certainly they've gone the right way about setting out their stall in this one. Vela, not been too prominent early, he's just got his work done tidily, starting to get opportunities to move further and further forward. Gorgeous switch of play from Maya. Right on the toe of Dom Costanzo. Dances into the area. Bayless belting it into the Sydney United player right in front of him, so even if it did strike an arm, I don't think there was much chance that they were going to get the decision. Norvillard strong enough to ride the initial challenge, but he waited too long to make up his mind on what to do with it. Such as the confidence Marconi are playing with. The call from Nathan Milgate there to Brandon Vela was to get the ball back in play as quickly as possible. They want to ram home this advantage while they have the pendulum swinging their way. De Oliveira. So often the man to break the lines for Sydney United 58, but he's just wrangled by a trio of Stallions. Costanzo de Oliveira wasn't about to miss that time, and a little bit of afters between those two. De Oliveira wasn't too interested. Costanzo making out that he was just going over to collect the ball, even if he did want to make some contact with the United midfielder. Small United contingent that have gathered over on that far side have not had too much to cheer about to this point. Watching their team defend another dangerous set piece here. Stanzo, after a slow start to the competition, has once again established himself as one of its most creative players. He had another assist. That ball didn't beat the first defender. Meyer hangs it up towards Milgate and Baumann. So often the targets for Marconi from those set pieces, and well, really hadn't had time to retreat from the initial ball in. Just probably a yards too much loft on it. But the attacking situations are continuing to develop for Marconi. We tick past the half hour mark in this big derby tonight. United are looking steadily brighter. Really did suffer in the opening quarter of an hour of this game, but they're having more of a telling say in it at the moment. And Selmy would love to strike back, and he stings the palms of Hilton. He elected not to hold it. Norwich's ball was unusually aimless. It's all worked out okay for Marconi though. Jesic just having his wits about him and playing the ball wide for Costanzo. Having a field day down the left. Looking for Temelkovski, and he saw the contact, and it might well have been 3. Vlastelica did just enough. Things that's been so impressive about Temelkovski. He had a bit of a disappointing stint down in the NPL in Victoria after being such a star down in South Australia for Metro Stars. but his movement off the ball and his work in build-up play had so much more than just goals. You're already getting that sort of output from Marko Jesic. You're getting 2-in-1 with players who can interchange and finish off chances as well as creating them. Add that to the firepower of Franco Maya, the signing from St George City in the off-season, and Tom Costanzo, who's long been one of the competition's best creative players for the past 3 seasons or so now, since the COVID pandemic. Ivancic can muster forward for Sydney United. Clearance into green grass, quickly seized upon by Millgate and spread forward by Mlinaric. Headed back clear by Rule. Mlinaric was making up ground quickly and was keen to leave a mark there, I think, on Patrick Anselmi, who made his protestations in his own little way. Mlinaric is not one to get too involved in those battles off the ball, but he's one of the cleverer defenders in the competition. He knew exactly what he was doing there. And he's the first name in referee Michael Winner's notebook tonight. 22-year-old. He's missed just a single game this season after signing from Oakley in the summer. In the NPL Victoria. Australian representative at youth level in the 17s and 18s. 22 years of age now, but plays with wisdom beyond his years. Rule's ball forwards was inviting Costanzo onto it. This time Rule won out in the battle of the 2 youngsters down that side of the pitch. Say that about Dom Costanzo and how he's established himself in this competition. He's still a youngster in many respects. Only 22 years of age. 7 goals this season. Provider for about the same number off the top of my head. Brandon Vella in space down the right. And they picked out Vlastelica and Shunta Nakamura, who has barely seen the floodlights that surround Marconi Stadium tonight. Such has been the space denied him. Only hang out an arm to try and control that one, and it's invited Marconi to get those big bodies forward for another attacking set piece. A few in the line for the Stallions. They go the near side towards Jesic. Having to use every one of those fast twitched fibers that still remain in those experienced legs. Not able to reel it in. Unsurprisingly, he didn't agree. He hadn't managed to keep the ball in play. So 10 minutes to play in this first half. Southwest Sydney derby that has delivered on almost all fronts, unless you're a Sydney United fan. Even they are starting to threaten more and more regularly. This time it's James Bayliss taking issue with the assistant Cameron Wright on the far side. Twin brothers assisting Michael Weiner this evening. Hoisted indeed towards Vlastelica. Mlinaric rose to clear. Vlastelica again. Bakadankowski's in there. And Ian Millgate's little entanglement. There's a few shouts from the Sydney United bench, but nothing more. This is better from United, of course, as I say that. Bakadankowski gives it away rather cheaply. Maya looking to feed Tebelkovsky. He's off the shoulder of Vlastelica again. They're just not dealing with his pacing behind at the minute. The pass didn't match the quality of the run. Sydney United showing us some of their slick stuff. And Anselmi's timed his run, not quite. To have peeled away so adeptly, but stepping half a yard past Anton Mlinaric, who was marshalling that Marconi Stallions defensive line. The reason for the Stallions' such solid defence is that they have three centre halves that most other clubs in the competition would kill for, with Cameron Windust as the backup at the moment. But all three of those different combinations have come together over different points in the season, with very little variation in the outcome. Bayliss. De Oliveira's made so many defensive disruptions for Sydney United over to try and cover again. Bailey Rule, or in fact it was Aiden Milicevic getting back there to do his piece of defending. Alex Molchanoff with you on this Saturday night from Marconi Stadium, where the Stallions have built themselves a 2-goal buffer inside the opening 15 minutes. Marko Jasic's cool finish from right on the penalty spot was followed in by an absolute blasting finish from James Temolkovsky from the best part of 25 yards that arrowed its way into the top corner of Oliver Kalatz's net. Those two goals, what's separating the two sides at the moment. Sydney United have only really managed a single shot in anger. Stung the palms of James Hilton from Anselmi, and Temolkovsky's in again. This time Kalatz spread himself. Very good save from the United keeper. Temolkovsky had managed to weasel his way off the back of Adrian Vlastelica again. That's the run he's going to. Trying to drag back at Anakoski over. Force Vlastelica to get around and face his own goal. It's so situation that Sydney United have not had the best luck dealing with in this opening half. Franco Maya looking to give Marconi a hand on all 3 points. Costanzo trying something clever. Diving to put the ball behind was Tarek Maya, who's been a lot more present in that area of the pitch than he would have liked to have been in the opening 40 minutes. Yeah, so adept at controlling the tempo of football matches. He's not had that opportunity this evening. Maya with another chance to swing this ball in towards keeper Kalatz. Jasic floating it onto the crossbar. I think Kalatz might have had it covered in any case, but Marconi have struck the frame of his goal. Close to having a third. A couple of times inside a couple of minutes, and again they come with another flurry. Temolkovsky, not too many options this time, and easily fielded by Kalatz at his near post. Oh, and he's got to have his wits about him, Ivancic. Just nicking it away from Meyer in the nick of time. Oliveira sends it down the other end. I don't think that ball had gone out of play, and the ball boy has come on to intervene, so it'll just be a drop ball. A little ticking off from Michael Weiner. Just thought that the ball had gone out of play. Still there's a bit of confusion between the referee and his assistant. Clarified that, and we get restarted with a drop ball. That's something you see too often. Ball kid a little overzealous in his duties on the near side. Nothing too world altering. United just taking too long to decide what they're trying to do, playing out from their own end in this first half, and it really has cost them. Bayliss getting forward from left full back, floats it towards Temolkovsky, back at Anakoski with an athletic clearance. And Telmy's drifted to the right, trying to find himself some space. This crossfield ball is cut off initially by Vela, only as far as Ivancic. Now Tarek Maya. Milosevic and Nakamura. There have been flashes of smooth stuff from Sydney United getting forward tonight, just not been consistent enough. And Tolmy's not had his usual Velcro touch, bringing the ball into his feet as a hold-up player. With Nakamura more often between the defensive midfield of the Stallions. That's such a small space. Milosevic has picked it out nicely. And fired the ball half cross, half shot. Seemed to be destined for the left boot of Patrick Anselmi. Anton Mlinaric made sure it didn't reach its destination. And in doing that, has conceded a late corner here for Marconi. Haven't been looking down this end of the pitch too often over the course of the first half to this point. Sydney United pinched something before the break. Free header for Vlastelica. They've got plenty of purchase on it. Just not the desired direction. James Hilton allowed to watch it pass his post without too much worry. Enough without that opening 15-minute period. It really has been an even game of football. Marconi certainly in control of territory and possession, but Sydney United have shown that they can cause enough problems when given the opportunity to get forward. The equation Zeljko Kalac needs to figure out come the break is how to get these attacking players with the football in dangerous positions more regularly, because they've shown that they're capable of doing something with it when they have had that opportunity. The Robillard. Not exactly moving to my point there, but give it away in too dangerous an area. Bailey Rule's been keen to get forward. Hasn't had the opportunity to too often, and every time they've looked for Patrick Anselmi, Anton Mlinaric has managed to stick something in to disrupt the ball into his feet. And Semmelkovski's got them going the other way again, trying to battle his way through defenders and just coming over the top of the ball as he went into the 50-50 with Bakadanakovski. Referee Wiener had a very good view, right on the spot, as he inevitably is. Lovely touch from Maya. Left the ground to take it. Rule being allowed a little more freedom by Costanza than he was being in the early stages. Maya. For Vlastelica in the shadows of half-time. Hit its slowest tempo, really, which suits United. With passes forward like that from Carlos de Oliveira. Been guilty of that a couple of times. Costanzo's drifted into the centre of the field. He's enjoying his evening. Why wouldn't he be? Baumann. Bayless, who was trying to turn his way past his direct opponent, or direct fullback on that side. So the ground announcer, Ian Kramer there, telling us there's 1 minute to be added on. So full turnover. The last thing Sydney United need is another Marconi attack building in this short period of time. De Oliveira bringing down Costanzo as he looked to turn. Just taken the air out of the situation, really. So there's plenty of attacking options for Zeljko Kalac to go to if he opts to do that, but it's really winning the battle through the centre of the park that has been United's struggle. Marconi wanted the corner, it wasn't forthcoming. Alessandro Lacalandra is there to give them that thrust. Luis Lobo, the signing from Spirit FC in the registration window. Mason Wells and Matt Hatch all available and all may be called on as Sydney United chase this game. We have the same result as we did at Adenza Park in April. Marconi scoring 2 goals in 2 minutes just after we ticked over 10 of those. Marko Jesic with that number on his back, finishing off from James Tebelkowski's gorgeous through pass before Tebelkowski added a second himself. One of the goals of the season, an arrow from 25 yards that nestled in the back of Oliver Kalatz's net. Plenty of questions for his father Zelko to answer at the break. His team go to the Jets trailing at Marconi Stadium, where the scoreline says Marconi Stallions 2, Sydney United 0. Welcome back to Marconi Stadium, the second half of this round 26 fixture between these two old rivals. Marconi Stallions with a 2-0 lead over Sydney United 58 at the break. Goals in the 10th and 11th minute to their two strikers. Marko Jesic getting the first, laid on a plate for him by James Tebelkowski before the Stallions number 9 let fly from range himself. Found the top corner of Oliver Kalatz's net. No further goals in the first half, but a flying start from Marconi that has put them in a strong position to try and hold out for a first derby win since the last fixture here between these two last season. Sydney United 58 managed to turn the tide somewhat towards the end of the second half. A couple of forays forwards. A couple of saves having to be made by James Hilton, but nothing meaningful. So the question for Zeljko Kalac is how to turn the tide. No changes to this point. You expect that those changes will come sooner rather than later if their prospects don't improve. Just a little bit of a delay here at the start of the second half. Looks to be a problem with the netting in the goal that James Hilton is now guarding. No surprise given the venom behind Tebelkowski's strike. Wouldn't be surprised if it really did burst the net. Certainly it seems to have loosened it from its uprights. Just taking a moment for all that to get sorted out before we get back underway in this second half. A couple of games that have taken place over the course of the afternoon to update you on. Sydney Olympic getting an important win over Spirit FC up at Christie Park, which moves them up into 7th spot. And now the closest chasers to Sydney United 58 in the chase for the top 6. Big relegation battle at London Stadium between Hills United and St George FC. The score sits at 1 apiece 4 minutes into the second half. Goals to Yelchan from St George FC and Yua Kubo, who's been in fine goal-scoring form over the course of the season for newly promoted Hills. And that game locked at a goal apiece. See the repair work being done. That is the side of the net that Tebelkowski's strike found its way into. Assistant Brad Wright is happy with the state of it now, and so we're just about ready to get back underway. 45 minutes for more football. If the first half was anything to go by, it should pass by pretty quickly. Don't change your TV sets just yet. Sydney United fans have still got hope in their hearts, given the comeback they were able to muster in a very similar situation in April. Players are loose on this cool night, much cooler night than it was in that return fixture. Sydney United put together some slick stuff in the closing 5 or 10 minutes. Now they just need to find that man, Patrick Antelmi, who is standing over the football, ready to get the second half underway. Alex Molchanov with you tonight on the Football New South Wales YouTube page. Our referee Michael Wiener gets us underway. Sydney United in red, white and blue of their Croatian heritage, kicking from left to right in this second half. Marconi in green, white and red of the Italian flag. Fixture, as we mentioned in the first half, that has had this fire and meaning since Marconi's promotion to the top tier of State League football in New South Wales for the first time back in 1971. Sydney United already well established by then as the well-known entity they are now. Bailey Rule and Tom Costanzo had a running battle down the far side of the pitch. We've got an even better view of it over the next 45 minutes. Very good feeling around what Bosley Park Stadium called the Palace. Why wouldn't there be, given what their side have been able to muster over the first 45 minutes of football? It's not just been the goals that went in, which were both superb in their own right, but the performance of their team overall in the opening half was something pretty special, close to the best they've produced all season. And Tebelkowski's having a field day. Lays it off for Meyer. who's had a couple of opportunities fall his way over the course of this match and is yet to force Ollie Kalatz into a save. Anakoski getting a rare start tonight in the absence of the suspended McGing and Tomalic. That certainly has not helped United's cause, although he's made a couple of blocks so far. But I think the other two might be struggling to muster. It's been his positional sense that's come under a little bit of question. Ian Vlastelica not seeming quite as natural as the latter's partnership with the other two. See how he stands up in the second half. There are not too many tougher tests in the National Premier League's New South Wales competition than the strike partnership of James Tomolkovski and Marko Jesic, who now have 29 goals between them over the course of the year. That's nearly half of Marconi's total tally. Tarek Maya. United look for a response. They got one early back in April in the second half. Of course, had their home fans behind them, creating a boisterous atmosphere all afternoon. Marconi fans have done the same here with their team in the ascendancy. His time there, the referee with the whistle, just making sure he'd seen everything in front of him. Free kicks goes Sydney United's way. Maya dinking it over the top. Rule didn't get the opportunity to foray forward too often. Managed to here. Returns the ball to Maya. And now Nakamura scored a beauty last weekend against Apia. Sandwiched between two Marconi players and unable to retain possession. Mentioned the good work he's done this season for Zelko Kalatz, playing in behind the striker. For the most part, that has been Patrick Anselmi, and their partnership has formed so brilliantly and quickly over the course of the season. Anselmi missed the majority of the first month with suspension after getting involved in a little fracas up at Plume Park. Coincided with a slow start for United. They've managed to arrest that. Still sitting pretty in the finals places for the moment. Could all change tomorrow, of course, if this result stays the same. St George City going up to Plume Park, or they'll take on those same Mariners. Cameron Wright's flag up on the far side. Marconi not coming with quite the same torrent of pressure that they started the first with, but there's still plenty of lightning in the boots of Dom Costanzo. Just pulled out of the challenge with Ivancic. I think that was wise. He was always second favourite for it. Baumann and Vella very watchful, as Marconi will undoubtedly be in the second half of this match. They don't want to think about turning over this two-goal lead. Tomolkovski has just been everywhere tonight. Might to this point be his finest performance in the green, white and red of Marconi. Baumann reckons it's his throw. The assistant Cameron Wright disagrees to vociferous protests both from the players and the crowd. I've been in fine boys tonight, the Marconi faithful, packed in good numbers on this Saturday evening. Rule for Maya. It's really the longest we've seen Tarek Maya in possession of the football this evening. It's fallen his way through the middle of the park. It's an area that Marconi have dominated to this stage in proceedings. Lonaric for Bayliss. Going to scrap his way past Milicevic. And a couple of appeals for Marconi. Plays for a free kick. It wasn't forthcoming. Maya dinking it over the top. Milgate taking command of the situation and just nodding it clear, but then had it nicked off him by Milicevic. continued his run forward. He's picked out De Oliveira into Robillard. It was just all a little bit loose from Sydney United. De Oliveira's still got the bit between his teeth. Eventually had it nicked off him, and now Temelkovski's got such gorgeous touch. His vision's not bad either. Just able to thread the reverse pass for Costanzo. Speaking of players with good vision, running at Vlastelica. And De Oliveira covering so much ground, getting back there to lend a hand defensively. Wow. So that energy in the Marconi press has dropped somewhat. Certainly from the opening 15 or 20 minutes. I expect it to maintain quite the same ferocity, but it's dropped off a little at the start of the second half, probably more than Peter Sekenis would like. There's been so much good in what Marconi have done so far this evening. This ground has been so hard for travelling teams to win at, even get points at. Continuing that trend so far this evening. On different pages there, Bayless and Costanzo. I don't think Bayless had too many designs on where that ball was going other than upfield. Hacked it into his winger. So a little opportunity for Sydney United maybe to take advantage of. Nakamura. Just helped to the ground by Yuli rather than pulled over. Jasic thinking his way through the situation. Going all the way back to Hilton. And spotted that Temelkovski was returning from an offside position. I mentioned I didn't think it would take Zelko Kalac long to pull the trigger with his changes, and he's gone with a treble of them. So Jordan Ivancic being replaced by Matt Hatch. Mentioned we thought that might happen. Alessandro Lacalandra on for Stefan de Robillard. And Mason Wells for Aiden Milicevic. Oh, the three. Disappointing night for those three, but for the substitutes, a chance to claim a slice of history for themselves. Sydney United are able to turn it around for a second time this season. I have to say, this game is not following the same trends that we saw in the first. We'll wait for a league double over. Marconi is going to go on for Sydney United unless they can turn the tide. De Oliveira. One that burnt the grass as it made its way towards James Hilton, who saw it all the way and was safely in behind it. Mason Wald's first job since being brought on is to try and hold up Franco Maya. Much easier said than done. He's played it forward for Temelkovski. Just ripped Vlastelica out of the way on his way to chase down the football. Fella for Maya. He went down rather theatrically, but there was a touch there from Mason Wells. Welcome to the match, son. Here's a message from Maya. Mason Wells is someone who wants the ball at his feet and to be running at opposition defences rather than having to do the defending himself. You feel that a third Marconi goal here would be very close to sealing the match. Maya taking his time, assessing his options. Really picking out any of them, although Milgate made something of that, and his presence meant that Bakadanakoski, I mentioned the athleticism he's put on show tonight, diving in front of his opposition centre-back to make sure that the ball didn't reach him and concedes the corner. Marconi have made a real focus of this over the course of the game. They've had two bodies in front of Oliver Kalac, particularly when the ball is swinging in towards him. No difference here. Temelkovski and Mlinaric right on his toes. And it's forced him to make sure that the ball wasn't sneaking in at his back post. No touch. Certainly putting it in an uncomfortable area for the Sydney United goalkeeper, but an overly effective set piece from Marconi that time around. Oh, Bakadanakoski not able to sort his feet out. Yuli thumps it into him. Tarek Meyer back there to sweep up the mess. And Rule was, well, felt he was caught by Dom Costanzo. Referee Wiener eventually agreed, and that is a summary of how Sydney United's evening is going. Tarek Meyer just thumping it into Carlos de Oliveira, who was trying to lend a hand further upfield. These two on completely different pages, which is something you don't often say about them. Nakamura. Could be all well that ends well, though, for Sydney United if they can score from this attack. Plenty of red bodies forward. Nakamura, and there's a chance for Wells! They couldn't do it again, could they, Sydney United? A first senior goal in Sydney United colours for Mason Wells. What a substitution from Zeljko Kalac. It was his first attacking touch. And he showed a cool head beyond his ears to just pass the half volley into the corner of Hilton's net. Nothing the keeper could do. Had 8 goals down in League One this season for the Bulls Academy before making the move in the registration window. And that could be a big, big moment. And if you think the Marconi players aren't aware, if you think their memories aren't serving them well right now, they might be hoping that they had amnesia. Certainly they still feel in control of this game. They've had the better of the chances in the second half, and Wells's was an exception rather than a rule of Sydney United attacks, but it just brings back that uncomfortable feeling. Millgate stepping in, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that history does not repeat itself. Must compliment Mason Wells, who's not part of the Sydney United team back then. He's well and truly part of it now. Just as we were saying, little things like that were happening to Sydney United, they have their best moment of the match. They're a braver onlooker than me to try and predict how the last half hour or so of this game is going to go. Rule trying to play his part. De Oliveira. Given the start to this game, even a point would be seen as a success for Sydney United this evening. But they might just feel they're a chance of something a little bit more. All over the top, Rule almost trying to karate kick it centrally, out of his reach. As desperate as he was. And Marko Jesic is having words with the players behind him now. If you think the nerves are not setting in, think again. We tick past the 60-minute mark. Plenty of time still to play. Marconi still creating opportunities enough to find a third. But now Peter Sikenes must be looking nervously at his bench and just thinking, do we need to try and turn the tide again? Well, a ball like that will help. Temelkovski sliding in with Kalac. It spilled loose. And now the foul is blown for the challenge from the Marconi striker on the United goalkeeper. It was a little wild from James Temelkovski. In fast contrast to everything else he's done tonight. Presented with the opportunity, his touch was loose rather than sure. And Kalac made that count, picked his moment to perfection to come out and effect the save. And without him, Sydney United might well and truly be out of this game. As it is, that is not the case. Dollar's ball over the top. Meyer opting to stay on the ground. Kalac, who's looked increasingly assured with his feet this season. One of the Bits of his game that has really improved over 2024. Shot stopping was never a question. He's always been very good at doing that sort of thing. Advantage played here by referee Wiener. He's got another big save to make here, and that's exactly what he's done. Kalat again for Sydney United. And Temulkovski's turned up a couple of chances in a couple of minutes. Marconi hoping that doesn't come back to haunt them, because Alessandro Lacalana sprung the defence and James Hilton had to play saviour down the other end. You cannot take your eyes off this at the moment. The narrative this game has, well, always produced, but particularly this season. And there's still more to come. Quite remarkable. De Oliveira. Sydney United are looking a much more confident outfit. Players like Bakar Anakoski looked a little unsure in the first half. There is no such worry now. Playing with the freedom of nothing to lose. Wells turning in his best performance in a Sydney United shirt to this point. In a short senior career with the club. Stepping in to try and take the ball off Marko Jesic there, who's dropping deeper and deeper in order to try and get his team out of trouble. That's a nice touch from Franco Maya. Such a clever footballer. Temulkovski trying the Rabona, which brought the oohs and ahs from the crowd. Just a yard or two heavy for Daniel Bowman. He's trying to re-establish his foothold in the game. He's one of its dominant stars in the first half. He and Liam Yulee in tandem through the centre of the park were really making life very difficult for Sydney United. Pressure they were able to apply has dissipated somewhat. More and more aimless balls like that sneaking into the game of Marconi. Whether they need a fresh runner up there to go and chase those balls, whether they need to look to play on the ground as they were doing so sweetly across the first half and in the early stages of this second period. Kolchamenti and Miloslav Popovic, both players with a history of scoring goals off the bench, and important ones as well, are both available for Peter Sekenes should he look to use them. Yuki Kitano got his first goal for the club. Luke Rasso, an attacking player as well. George Daniel is the defensive option. He's one who can provide thrust from left full-back if that's an option that Sekenes chooses to explore. At the moment, with his side in the lead, the status quo will do, but status quo is not stayed stable for long in this football match, and Matt Hatch has got the bit between his teeth. No advantage accruing, so referee Wiener now sees fit to stop play and award the free kick to Sydney United. And that boisterous crowd over the far side has turned into a nervy one. Fortunately for them, Sydney United wasteful with the set-piece opportunity that was afforded them. So there's entertainment happening here. There's a bit of madness happening at Landon Stadium as well. It's now 3-2, St George leading Hills United. Hugh Kubo's got a second. Justin Poon has got 2 goals for St George. Scored those critical goals in their promotion campaign last season on the final day to get them into the relegation playoff, which they then defeated Mount Druitt Town Rangers, a team that Shunta Nakamura was part of over 2 legs. De Oliveira still fighting and scrapping for the ball in midfield. Suggestions he might have had a bit of help from his arm there to control that one. Vlastelica. Hatch's ball in was fairly easily cleared by Millgate, and then De Oliveira's touch let him down. Temukovski's just been spraying passes like this all over the park all evening. Costanzo is faded to the periphery of this match. Wants the free kick, wants the throw, and doesn't get it. And now Dom Costanzo is down on his haunches. That's just to slow United's momentum as much as anything. Quarter of the game left to play. Marconi came out as the hot favourites and took a 2-goal lead with goals in the 10th and 11th minute to Marko Jesic and James Temukovski, respectively. Mason Wells has come off the bench to get a goal back for Sydney United just before the hour mark. In between that, chances have been few and far between. Alex Molchanov along with you, bringing you all the action from Marconi Stadium tonight. Do not go anywhere. This game could go in any number of different directions as it nears its climax. We thought Temukovski's goal, which is going to be in the conversation for goal of the year, don't worry about that. Might be that point. It's proven not to be. Because of the response of Sydney United, who have shown such great character, and due to some of the mistakes that have begun to sneak into the performance of the Stallions over the course of the last hour or so. Nakamura, who is growing in influence. Lakalandra happy to just lay it off for Rule. Those two have combined well since Lakalandra's introduction. And then Anselmi probably committed a foul there, but referee Wiener has come to tick him off, and James Hilton knew that there was nothing too untoward in it all. You so like Patrick Anselmi, having struggled all night, to just pop up at a goal in a big moment when you least expect him to. Rule. Hilton choosing to play out through Yuli. Worse options than that for Marconi, that's for sure. Ball forward for Maya, who stepped rather aimlessly offside. He wasn't gaining an advantage by doing that. So just as we anticipated, Marconi are going to turn to their bench just to try and turn the tide here. We're going to wait. Is that sub going to be made now? Dom Costanzo is making his way slowly from the centre of Marconi Stadium. He's just over on his haunches, and he receives a good hand because, particularly in the first half, he part of that attacking quadrant, if you like, that were causing so many issues. It's George Daniel who's been brought on in his place, so a bit of defensive awareness, I suppose. I have to say, it is a conservative substitution from the Stallions. With a lead to protect, yes. One in which they need to seize the impetus back, because you fear that they're just planning to sit deep defending. And we've seen the script before. Got to keep providing outlets going forward. And Daniel Baumann can be that, as can Marko Jesic. Turned into the challenge of Wells and was strong enough to ride that and win his side the throw. Yuli for Vela. That's so, well, it looked clever from Wells. It just didn't reach anyone in red. Bakadanakoski up rather than out. Hatch forced to get his body in the way, which he did smartly. Draw the free kick from the increasingly frustrated, Daniel Bowman. Body language has got an air of grievance about it. Or an air of aggravation, perhaps, is a more accurate term. Ball over the top from Danikowski. Perfectly waited for Lakalandra to try and make something of it. He's done exactly that. And guess who's there? And tell me, riding challenges. De Oliveira thumps it into a forest of green bodies. Hatch, Hilton, and away by Bayliss. And Marconi congratulate their goalkeeper for a big save. It was a good hit from Hatch. Marconi's number one, who hasn't missed a game this season, stood up again. Or rather stretched out to beat the ball away. Baumann copped the brunt of De Oliveira's initial effort, which is why he stayed down on the turf. He's back to his feet now to make sure Marconi have 11 to defend this throw from. United poking and prodding, looking to create a hole in the well-set defence of their opposition. Cheap turnover in midfield. George Daniel's got fresh legs, but Lakalandra's back there. In fact, he's rule, and George Daniel has got the better of him. Another one of the Mariners Academy products involved tonight. Swinging it in, but only, well, too close to Kalatz. Wells just turned around Vela, but his ball forward didn't match the quality of that spin. Hilton did beautifully to pick out Daniel, who felt the shoulder of Alessandro Lakalandra, the taller man, in that little scrap. Daniel's such an impressive character. He's one of the slightest in the competition, but goes in so hard for every ball, and his energy and industry is something that Peter Sekenis must appreciate every time he throws him out onto a football pitch. Certainly makes him one of the more likeable players in the competition from a neutral perspective. All hooking the ball clear. Nakamura held up by his opposite number, Baumann. They're trying to give Lakalandra these sorts of balls to run onto because his pace is such an asset. A little overzealous there in his chase forward, just shoving Nathan Milgate out of the way. Still only 20 years of age. Alessandro Lakalandra debuted as an 18-year-old last season. Was immediately impressive. Formed a core part of this Sydney United squad that are pushing for the finals. Got a big assist on Waratah Cup final day last season for Patrick Anselmi, firing the cross in that got the second goal for United of the game, deep into extra time. End up going on to win them the trophy. The third added by the now departed Taisei Kaneko. Scored in the first derby between these two last season, funnily enough. In another 3-1 win for Sydney United 58. The other two goals that night scored by the also now departed Leroy Jennings. He's on debut that day. "15 minutes to play here at Marconi Stadium. This is the situation that Marconi have been so good in since that game in April. In fact, faultless. Can their defensive discipline see them through again? Won't be the prettiest of football, but just functional stuff will do them. Mesic and Danikowski coming together. This is as though Jesic might have just landed on the young centre-half's foot. His performance has vastly improved in this second half. Sorted out the issues of the runs in behind of James Temulkowski, although he has spurned two big opportunities in this second half after scoring that howitzer of a strike in the first. his 14th of the league season. His first in New South Wales senior football. Spent time as a junior across a few of these clubs, including Sydney United, as well as Rockdale and Sutherland. Yuli for George Daniel. Back to Temilkovsky. This could be the moment for Marconi. George Daniel's there. Still he goes, and the touch took him a little wide. Bakadanakoski watchful. Not once but twice. Wins that little battle but concedes the corner. Marconi will take their time. Every second precious to them now.
Olympics,
Maybe even more so for Sydney United, and they're more than aware of that. This game has delivered everything it promised, and there still might be more to come. Marconi would love to end it here with a third. Maya the option this time with Costanzo off, so it'll swing away from Kalatz, flicked on by Jesic. And then on to it, after some hesitation, was Brandon Vella. Doesn't get too many goals, the Stallions' right fullback. Bakadanakoski clearing his lines. This game's got into a little lull, which suits the hosts. Sydney United needing to drag back some of the impetus that they had earlier in this second half. Scrapping for it was Vella while still on the ground. Nice touch from Maya. Bakadanakoski wide for Bailey Rule. De Oliveira. Loose touch from Shunta Nakamura. Even looser one from De Oliveira, and so Vlastelica just has to clear his lines. And tell me with words directed at the players behind him. Jesic sliding in and conceding the free kick. Just went in with the studs showing. Wasn't too much contact with Tarek Maya, so no further action needed from the referee. Ten minutes away from the biggest win of their season so far for Marconi. And with each week, the need for these victories to continue totting up will grow. But the path to a potential premiership is only as big as the next game. Only as big as each step. And this is going to be a very, very important one if they are able to hang on for the last 10 minutes. The flowing football of the opening half has disappeared, but their endeavour and attitude certainly hasn't. Headed forward by Bauman. Temilkovsky couldn't bring it down. De Oliveira nicked it off him. He, Hatch and Vlastelica to work it out for Sydney United. Can they go in transition? De Oliveira looking to do exactly that. Lovely switch of play for Lacalandra. Now he just needs support up with him. Faces up Bayliss. Lacalandra. Good piece of defending from the Marconi left back. His touch taking it nicely into the path of James Hilton. He's been tidy in his work this evening. A long 6 seconds before the goalkeeper releases. All flicking it forward, but Marconi really have taken the sting out of this game effectively over the last 5 or 10 minutes. Going to try and continue doing that with another substitution. And Michael Wiener is telling James Temilkovsky to get off at the near side, which is the closest to where he is. A fine performance from James Temilkovsky tonight. His goal that will be shown plenty of times on social media and across the Football New South Wales loving public. Goals home and away against Sydney United 58 this season for him. fine couple of fixtures in Marconi's big rivalry in his first season in green, white and red. Yuki Kitano taking his position up front. Player probably with a bit more pace, certainly not as strong on the ball, and immediately Dayan Bakadanakoski taking advantage of that fact to nick the ball off him. This could work out nicely for Sydney United. Myers continued his run into the box again. It's Bayliss retreating quickest to put the ball behind for a corner. United's attack has not been blunted yet. De Oliveira, not the tidiest ball in, almost gave Nakamura something. Hatch! Through a crowd of bodies. The ground he called home last season. Not too many players make that switch from Stallions to Sydney United. One of the few, and he's been a terrific pickup for Selko Kalats this year. Just going to go over to his boss there to take on some instructions as another substitution comes for Sydney United at the end of Patrick Antelmi's night. He won't be Sydney United's hero this evening.
Substitution for Sydney United, number 14, Luis Lobo.
Luis Lobo is the man brought on. And the number formerly occupied by Liam McGing. Out of play for a while, thanks to a lengthy suspension. Lakalandra dropping it for Rule. Now De Oliveira. Ball has asked a bit of Vlastelica, who made it happen. Sliding to keep the attack going forward. Wells, whose goal got Sydney United back in this game. Rule venturing further and further forward from right full back. Maya. Desperation not quite in the game of Sydney United yet. Still patient in their build-up. Throwing numbers forward. Every Marconi player behind the ball. Maya lobbing it over the top of them. Nice touch from Rule. He's trying to pick out Shunta Nakamura. There's a few green bodies between he and the ball. Lakalandra has a second go at it. Headed away by Bauman. Maya. Marconi not interested in getting out of their own half now, only defending the lead that they gave themselves in the very early stages of this game. Was flicking it up into the body of Franco Maya. Heavy touch from De Oliveira, whose legs have got through so much work tonight, they must be fatiguing. Daniel behind Jesic, and I say that, and still Carlos De Oliveira is sliding in for challenges on his opposite number. Vela. Kitano has the most unenviable job of any striker in football, just chasing after lost causes with his team in the lead. Be happy to do it if they can see it out. Will be delighted to have played his part. United sticking to their principles. Bakadanakoski trying to bend it in behind for Luis Lobo. That's not really his game at this stage of the Brazilian's career. A willing runner, but not the quickest. Gives Marconi another chance to clear their lines. Nervous anticipation around Marconi Stadium. They can sense what they're on the cusp of. Another week with pressure heaped on Rockdale Illendon. I hope that they'll slip tomorrow against RPL Leichhardt, against who their record is so poor over the past couple of seasons. Against who they'll take on in a Waratah Cup final in a couple of weeks' time as well. De Oliveira coming over the top, and surely for the amount of offences he's committed tonight, perhaps unsurprising that he's found his way into the referee's notebook. Michael Wynn has done a very good job of controlling this game without having to go to his pocket too often. Run out of patience with Carlos De Oliveira.
Substitution for Marconi, number 17,
Miroslav Popovic brought on, a finder of important goals off the bench earlier in the season. Daniel Bowman's night is over. He was looking probably the most tired of Marconi's midfield pair. William Yuli's sort of strode around. Bauman's got through a lot more of the heavy physical work. Franco Meyer bending this one away from everyone in green. Offers a hand of apology. Not quite what he was aiming to do with that ball in. A final change for Željko Kalac. The last man on his bench is Christian Gonzalez, such a terrific servant of this football club. Tarek Moyer's evening ends. Been a big part of keeping Sydney United in the contest after they went down to those 2 early goals. Lobo backing into Millgate, not giving him a chance to make his trademark run at the ball. Here is the first touch for Christian Gonzalez. Pop up with an important goal. He's done that a few times over the course of his Sydney United career as well. Thrust into the centre of Željko Kalac's midfield for these final couple of minutes. Lobo bringing down Millgate. Unsurprisingly less than impressed with the decision. Marconi are nearly there. The nerves had to be there after that goal back from Mason Wells. How could they not be? But they've held their nerve, kept their discipline. And it looks as though the gap at the top of the NPL New South Wales men's ladder will be back down to 3 points tonight. Vlastelica turning on his spot and drawing a challenge from Gitano that drew the whistle of the referee. It's time to stop fussing about, says Ollie Kalac. Oh, still played it short to Bakadanakoski, who now launches forward. There's not really anyone in that right channel to aim for. Popovic has eaten a couple of extra seconds off the clock by keeping that ball in play. Gitano dragged to ground by Bakadanakoski. Hatch trying to use his pace. Meyer is up to the challenge. Every tackle being celebrated by the Marconi faithful now. Vlastelica. Wells for Lobo, who couldn't sort his feet out. And now there's space for the fresh legs of Miroslav Popovic to just run the ball clear of danger and take Bakadanakoski wide. Gitano is central. It would take some sort of ball to reach him. So smartly, he just elects to hold it up. Still Popovic, and he's worked inside a throw. It's down the wrong end for Sydney United. Into stoppage time, the board resting at the knee of the fourth official, Mitchell Renton, reads 3 minutes.
The fourth official has indicated a minimum of 3 minutes added time.
Daniel, pursued by a pair of United players. Throw in goes Marconi's way.
Please wait till all the players have come off the field before you enter the field.
Daniel. Will there be celebrations on the pitch? Tonight it's certainly looking so. United have got less than 3 minutes to try and find their equaliser. Rule goes long. Lenaric goes longer. That will give Oliver Kalac the chance to launch it down the other end. Oliveira looking for options upfield. They're not presenting themselves. Patience no longer a virtue for United. Rule Marconi comfortable with the ball in front of them. Gonzalez for Lobo. He's got that clever touch. It's almost authentically Brazilian, that sort of ball over the top, isn't it? And Lobo's continued his run forward. Dangerous ball, only found Milgate. He's always seemed to be in the way of those sort of crosses. And then Yuli doing the rest of the dirty work. Maya carrying it clear. We've seen Kalatz off his line. It takes something pretty special to beat him from there, but the clearing effect of that effort is as important as the potential goal it might have given Marconi. Gitano, Popovic away down the left again. Again, Bakadanakoski out to meet him. Nakamura back providing the support, and Popovic is ducked inside the young centre half. Gonzalez sweeping up, but United are doing defending rather than chasing this game. Gonzalez back, only as far as Maya. He might let fly here. There's only one thought in Franco Maya's mind. He's had so many chances tonight. The call from Sekenis is no longer to press, but Marko Jesic was in half a mind to do that. Now he retreats. De Oliveira over the top. Lenaric winning the header. Hoisted high into the night sky. Headed down by Kitano. Popovic sliding in, but Rule's taking it away. Is there one last chance here for Sydney United? Nakamura. Lobo. Gorgeous first touch. Rule just needs to get it in the area. That's what he does. Was bicycled away by Brandon Vella, and time has beaten Sydney United. The Stallions hold on, and look what it means to them. The two goals came early. They were both beauties. There's a little bit of afters in the centre, nothing less than we'd expect from this game, which has had so much feeling, and tonight was so important. But it's Marconi who take the 3 points. Another season where the home side have emerged victorious from both fixtures. The two goals came early. James Tubulkovsky laying on the first for Marko Jesic, who finished unerringly when presented the chance. Tubulkovsky then with an absolutely stunning strike a minute later, which meant that the Stallions had a 2-goal buffer built up by the 12th minute. Sydney United huffed and puffed in the second half. They got one back through Mason Wells, but it wasn't enough. And as we sign off here from Marconi Stadium on a happy night for the Stallions and their supporters who packed in, it's finished. Marconi Stallions 2, Sydney United 58-1.